Greetings, this is Guild Daddy D, Mr. D or just plain D, coming at you with some more tips and tricks on Ashes of Creations. Hopefully you've had a chance to either watch some content or play the game itself. It's a unique game. I'm enjoying my time in it. Still haven't decided what my long-term plans are here, but I just wanted to share some of the things I've picked up for, especially for the new players. Um, Chances are when you first start, you're going to end up going to Avon's End. Avon's End is kind of like a new bro little crafting area. I believe Briarmore Farms is the equivalent for those going for magic users or going that direction. But one thing to keep in mind is that when you go to these areas, the tax is just exorbitant, right? So in every town there's tax, right? So the mayor sets the taxes, I believe. I'm really not sure 100% how it works yet, but every town has its taxes. And the thing you need to be careful of is in these beginner areas, for some reason, the game designers have decided to tax it at 50%, meaning that if you're spending, I don't know, a gold to craft a whole bunch of things trying to explore the game, you're going to be taxed 50 silver for every gold, which is just ridiculous. This game, you start off with virtually nothing to begin with, so the 50% tax thing is just crazy. For example, like right here, if I wanted to buy one novice herbalism satchel, you're like, okay, 96 copper. Most people don't even look down below. But if you look down below, it's 48 copper. So you're actually paying almost 2 silver for this thing, which is just ridiculous. So I would not spend much time here besides doing your quests that are populated when you first start playing the game. If you're going to do any sort of crafting or exploring crafting, go to the nearest towns, which are most likely for most new players going to be Jova, which is in the west, or Miralith, which is in the east. Um, that's the first thing. Just be mindful of the taxes, both in real life and in game. So that's my first tip. The second tip is a lot of you are going to go straight into gathering because when you play an MMORPG, gathering is just an easy source of income. So one of the things to note, as you can see right in front of me, are the different age cycles for everything in the game. As you craft, as you gather, things will um, repopulate, but they don't repopulate at their full value immediately. They grow. So as you can see, this little baby tree over here, you cannot gather it. And then we go to the next stage, which should be is either, yeah, it's adolescent. Adolescent, ash, and then this is an adolescent oak. The different growth cycles, this is adult, and then there's the bigger versions of adults, which, there are none right around here, but I might show you today as we're going through the video, give you different yields. When you harvest an adolescent, you're going to get anywhere between 1 and 3 wood. The adults will give you anywhere between 5 and 7. Now, not only does this increase the speed of your gathering and filling your bags, but it also increases the durability range for your gathering tools. If you're using 1 durability off your axe to chop for 2 wood, but you come over here and use that same 1 durability for 5 wood, it is exponentially better for you. In addition to that, your procs have to do with the size or the maturity level of the rock or the tree or the bush you're gathering. For instance, if I harvest this adult oak, my base yield is going to be 5 wood. If you proc up to uncommon, rare, heroic, legendary, you will get 5 of those. It's not like, so if you just go to the adolescent and you proc, 2 rares, it's going to be exponentially better to go around and cherry pick the adult things. Now, I don't expect everybody to just run around and only only harvest the trees that are adults or the rocks, but just be mindful that, it's very hard to tell the difference between an adult flower and a recently spawned one. But with the rocks and the trees, it's fairly easy to understand. I mean, you can see as I'm coming down this hill here, there's some large clusters of basalt and they get bigger as they go. So like this one I'm standing next to, this one's going to be It's just going to say mine basalt, but this little one is going to give you less yield than the bigger one. And there are even bigger ones yet. Some of them will, if you see this NPC in front of me, some of them will be about half his size that are and I'm going to call them mature level of rock. So just be mindful when you're gathering to, use your energy wisely, use your durability wisely. Find an area that's not so heavily populated. If you're spawning in the south when you first start playing, um, you know, obviously the further out you go, the higher level mobs, but there are many areas that don't have any mobs where you can safely gather. And just as you're gathering, go ahead and hit tab, and that'll highlight any enemies that are close by. Or if you hit B, it will bring the closest enemy up to you. As you can see, I hit B and it brought up that shambling zombie in the distance. So I have gotten to the habit, especially when I'm gathering in an area where my level shouldn't be allowing me to go there because I'm either too low level or, whatever, but I'm trying to chase the big resources. I will just hit tab consistently, and I left mouse button, hold my camera, move it around, and hit tab, 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 just to make sure I'm not getting any trouble with any mobs that are, 10, 15, 20 levels ahead of me. So we've covered taxes. We've covered the different stages of growth for the resources. Another thing I would like to explain to everybody is the marketplace, the player driven economy, and how to maximize your time. The best way for me to describe this is you are going to find yourself becoming a little bit of a resource truck driver. So, in the current server I'm in, the mayors of the respective towns have specialized. So, down here in New Ayla, they have pretty much gone farming and cooking, which is fine. Jova has gone all armor smithing and weaponsmithing. Halcyon has gone for textiles and weaving and tailoring. Winstead, they haven't decided what they're doing yet. The mayor has switched a few times. They keep arguing back and forth. It is what it is. And Miralith has kind of gone back and forth as well. I think how it's going to settle up is Winstead has been carpentry, or excuse me, Miralith has been carpentry, and Winstead's going tanning. But either way, whatever server you play, when the game finally does go live, keep in mind that those areas, when you're selling your gatherable items, there's a few things to consider. A, what am I gathering and who wants it? B, where is the most populated marketplace? And C, whether or not these items can do anything for me. And the reason why I say this is, let's say I was out here gathering rock. Well, rock, if I know Jova, everybody wants copper and zinc over there. Right now, on my current server, zinc is selling for close to what is it, 80 copper a piece, which is, I mean, in some cases, some people are paying upwards of like 25 silver for one zinc. So if I get any zinc, the first place I'm going to go is Jova and list it on the marketplace over there. Or I might even advertise in local. So keep in mind that a lot of people that live in Jova are also going to be mining around Jova. So you might not necessarily find a lot of rock to mine. So you might end up coming up here to Halcyon and finding some rocks, which I happen to know there's a lot of basalt, but not a lot of granite up there. So basalt's going to be able to mine, copper as well as rubies. But, you might find a spot that's got a ton of granite over here by Winstead where you find a whole bunch of zinc and you bring it over to Jova to sell it. And then while you're over in Jova, knowing that a lot of people do armor smithing and weaponsmithing, you might decide to grab a lot of herbs and bring them up here to Halcyon to sell them to all the tailors. So this game is not, there is no worldwide marketplace. There are regional and local markets where you have to bring the goods to the people to maximize your profit. In addition to that, if you want to get your citizenship in one of these towns, and the reason why the citizenship is important is you get more storage, you get reduced tax, etc., etc., you might want to cherry pick which items that you gather. For instance, in the town where I am a citizen in Halcyon right now, there's a buy order here. If you hit N and go to the treasury, the mayors can select buy orders of items that they're buying for the town, and it tells you what items there are. So this one is for basalt and oak. So for last night, I was actually out here gathering basalt and oak. Now, all of the common basalt and all of the common oak that I gathered went towards those buy orders. And those buy orders give me reputation, which increases my benefits of being a citizen. And then all of the rare, heroic, epic, legendary uh, procs that I got from the oak trees, well, I took them down to Marilith, and then the ore stuff, whether it would be copper or the basalt, I took to Jova. So it's, you have limited storage. Keep that in mind when you're gathering. And really, what you're going to want to do is increase the bag carrying capacity you have as soon as possible. And that brings me into what I think would be probably the best tip that I could give to new players. Your PvE is just, it comes naturally in the game, but a lot of you will decide, hey, I want to get into crafting, which is fantastic. There's a lot of money to be made in crafting, but crafting in this game is not something that you just make the decision and then all of a sudden tomorrow you're rolling in the dough. Crafting in this game, you have to be intentional with what you decide to do as a profession, because getting the mats is a pain in the rear. What I would highly recommend anybody do that's starting this game is go ahead and, yeah, okay, you can set a goal for crafting, but I would just maximize your gathering for now. Provide materials to those people who are going to be deep diving and power leveling their crafting, and then possibly saving some of the materials you're gathering for yourself for in the future. So, for instance, I decided that I was going to mainline tailoring right from the get-go, but power leveling tailoring is just, it's painful, right? Because painful in that you need to gather certain grade materials to make linens and things like that, and it's just so. And I was just draining my fun. It's not unbelievable to tell you that it'll take 150 to 300 gold to power level a crafting skill to journeyman. Many people in my guild have done that, and when you start, you literally start with no gold. So, like currently right now, I'm sitting at 6 gold. I just switched over to going from crafting to actually starting to gather. And some of you might be like, oh no, there's ways to gather this, that, the other thing. That's fine. I'm just impatient and lazy. So this is the lazy person's way of doing this. I would just I would concentrate on mining, lumberjacking, herbalism. I mean, you don't even have to do herbalism, you could do fishing. Hunting and tanning is really not a thing yet because it's just a placeholder. They really haven't fleshed it out. So you can experiment with it and get it up to like, novice 10. That's no problem, but don't put too much stock into it until they revamp it. But in its current situation, I would say you can have 5 apprentice skills. So I would say mining, lumberjacking, herbalism, fishing. Literally everybody fishes, unless you're planning on making your own crates. See one of my other videos, or selling the higher tiered fish, which they do sell, or cooking. I don't see a need. I mean, I've been getting orange and purple fish as a novice fisherman. The only difference is that you can use a higher fishing rod and a larger fishing bag. But to be honest with you, I don't find it a problem because you can't AFK fish in this game for 24 hours. You kind of have to be somewhat at the keyboard. So I have not run into a problem being a novice fisherman. So I would say kind of hold off on that. But at least the main ones, mining, lumberjacking, and herbalism. So you can actually concentrate on gathering those materials. And then maybe you make a decision that, hey, you're going to sell all your greens and blues, but keep all your yellows and purples, or whatever you decide to do. if you want to eventually get into carpentry, okay, if you're out here lumberjacking, save yourself 10% or 15% and just start filling up whatever town ends up going into carpentry, just filling up the storage there. As far as processing goes, you can get into processing, but keep in mind you have a hard limit of 5 apprentice skills. So just looking at mine right now, I have one, two, three. I have 3 apprentice gathering skills. So that would mean I could do 2 more skills. So currently I have no crafting skills at apprentice. I actually downgraded my tailoring. And the processing, I have weaving and lumber milling. Now, cooking, I'm really not interested in. Alchemy, meh. Animal husbandry, I really am interested in making leathers and stuff, but it's just not fleshed out in the game yet. Farming is one of those things where there is absolutely a market for the apprentice stuff like chickens, cows, pigs, the journeyman stuff. You can absolutely sell this stuff and make bank to all the cooking people. So if you decide to go that way, that might be your fourth apprentice. I decided to go with lumber milling and weaving because then I could take the herbs and turn them into threads and linens. And lumber milling, I can make boards for the people who want to power level their tailoring because one of the things you need to make bolts of fabric are boards. So the long and short end is I would spend a lot of your time gathering for money, and when you get to the point where you can afford to buy gear and afford to lose 100 to 200 gold, um, then maybe power level. Last but not least, those of you who do want a power level, if you want to get into something as like carpentry, keep in mind that when you're crafting in this game, there's also deconstruction kits, right? So you can buy these. I believe they're arcane engineering. Yes. So this is stuff if you're out grinding, and this is where I say the forward planning as a new player. This game is very, very, very planning intensive. It's not like other MMOs I've played to where, you make a quick decision. If you decide to change directions, it's fairly easy. This kind of locks you in. So if you do decide that while you're gathering and earning some money, I want to be a carpenter, or I want to be a leather worker, or I want to be an armor smith, plan it out. And I'll give you an example. In this game, there's deconstruction kits. There's also excavation kits and other kits, but let's just talk about this one. This kit allows you to break down a piece of equipment into its base ingredients. You can use it on things that drop at PvE. You can use it on things you craft. So if I was going to power level carpentry, I would pick a very easy recipe, like for instance, anything that's the brook steel, right? So if I'm looking at the brook steels are like the not completely new to the game. These are going to be dropping in most of the new areas, the new player areas, and this will give you an upgraded weapon fairly quickly, but you can also craft them. So if you look, first things first, we're going to look at that deconstruction kit. And one of the things you could do is, let's say you're going to be making them, just click track recipe, right? So this will put it over here. You can buy the turpentine, the Kelkathar from the NPC, and then you need a granite grinding stone. Granite grinding stones are literally just granite. You just take them to the stone works and you can craft it into a granite. Okay, let's show you. Processing, stonemasonry, granite grinding wheel. And I'm not finding it. Okay. Well, what you would do is you would take it and you would craft a granite grinding stone. Oh, it's arcane engineering. Oh, it's an ingredient. And then you could just craft some of these. What I like to do too, and you craft 6 at a time. I like to just buy these because I'm not a stonemason. So, but if you were going to power level, back to what I was saying, pick something that's easy. Anything that's a brook steel is going to be fairly easy. Now, if you're, regardless of what you're mining, these are going to take ash timber and daffodil threads. Okay, so you're going to need ash and you're going to need daffodil. Go out, gather a bunch of ash, gather a bunch of daffodil, process it into timber, process it into thread. Then, once you make the item, turn around and use the deconstruction kit on it. You will not get 100% of your items back, but you will get anywhere between 50 and 75% of your items back. This will drastically reduce the amount of input you have to do when power leveling a crafting skill. And just keep in mind, too, when you do process the daffodil thread as well as the ash timber, you're going to get things like sawdust and wood chips. That all goes into other crafting. So, just be very mindful of the decisions you make because at the end of the day, the decisions you make in this game will actually set you back or set you ahead quite a bit. And that's one of the struggles I've had, and this is why I've appreciated the early access atmosphere, right? Is that I've changed my crafting and gathering and processing skills probably 4 or 5 times. It's free to change. The only thing you're losing is experience. For instance, I was tailoring apprentice, and now it's back down to novice, and so I kind of lost out on the ability to make the apprentice stuff. Um, but the other nice thing about leveling up your gathering skills is that you can also use the larger bags, so it's going to enable you to go around and carry a lot more. So those are some just new player, Ashes of Creations things that I've picked up on to maybe save you some time, save you some energy. A lot of this might change when the game goes live as well, and I can put updates and stuff. But there you go. If you guys have any comments, any questions, if you guys want to know how to do anything in the game, please reach out, shoot me a comment, like and subscribe the video. There will be a lot more content coming. I've got a very long list in front of me as I play through the game and I find stuff that I'm like, man, people could benefit from knowing this. So enjoy. Thank you very much and have a great day.